Hello, my friends. A couple minutes late here. Next week, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I think we may be, for the first time, off next week because I'm flying to London. I may try to do something else, like go live on the Discord or something like that. But yeah, tomorrow, next week, Tuesday is going to be crazy for me, so we're not going to do a usual live. We may try to do something else, though. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll chat with folks on the Discord and maybe go on to one of the voice channels or something while I'm at the airport. Tuesday next week is just going to be crazy, though. How's everybody doing today? How you guys doing? And big shout out to the Discord. Always a great time over there. Go grab John. What's up, buddy?
What up?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm all right.
Working hard?
Hardly working.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's the attitude.
Just kidding. Yeah, yes, I am.
Get your tennis in this morning?
Yeah, we played for over an hour today, and I came out victorious. It was a little harder this time. It was very hot.
Yeah, it's nice out there. The clouds just broke here, so it's about to be a warm one today, I think.
Nice.
So yeah, I was just saying we may not go live at this time next week because I'm going to be flying to London.
Oh yeah, right.
And I think I'm not sure exactly. I guess it's based on my schedule over there, but I would still like to keep doing this if I'm free at whatever that is, 8 or 9 p.m. on Tuesdays while I'm in London. I'm going to be out there doing a ton of sessions and going pretty crazy into writing mode while I'm there. Although the first 10 days I will be quarantining, so or 5 if I get out. So maybe I will be able to at least do that first week or two. But yeah, I'm going to be out in London for like 6 weeks. So we may adjust these a little bit. But I would still obviously like to do this, as these are so much fun. So maybe we'll find some other way. And I was also saying that maybe there's something I can do on the Discord too, with just like getting on the voice channel or something. We'll figure something out. Maybe we'll sneak John onto the Discord one day. I just Rory joined like a week ago.
Oh, nice.
And was saying hi on there, which is great.
Nice.
Always great to have more great voices on there.
Yes.
So instead of doing the business talk like we were going to do this week and talk about rates,
I forgot about that. So.
Yeah. Well, it was mostly for me to get all my ducks in a row, and I just haven't had time because because of the London trip, and I moved it up because of the quarantine and trying to sort all that stuff out. So we'll get into a bigger business discussion about rates and things like that potentially another time. But maybe that's something I can do on the Discord as well, because it's easier to do. You may not have to dedicate a whole episode to that. But I went ahead and just said, hey, we'll do a Q&A. And of course, we got a bajillion questions, most of which I will get back to people on DMs, because there's a lot of stuff that we've covered before, which is cool. It's nice to get questions from new people, like, give me some thoughts on mixing vocals, and I can send them to an hour where we talked about that. So
we've done a lot.
We've done a lot. There's a lot of clips now for people that aren't following the Live with Matt Rad Instagram, where all the clips are happening. Check that out, and all you guys watching, if you could go show some love on YouTube as well, where you can go subscribe there. You can also search for clips on there. That's really useful. Going on the clips channel on YouTube, anything that we've talked about, from low end to vocals to workflow to whatever, you can search it pretty easily on the clips YouTube. Cool. Which I think is really useful for people. That's actually what I do when people ask me questions and I go, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this. I'm pretty sure we made a clip about this. I just go search on the YouTube clips channel and then send stuff to people. So cool. We've got a lot going on, but we got some good questions that I think we could probably spend a full hour on a few of these. But my favorite one, which might make you laugh, which maybe we will talk about offline as well. Hex asked, has John's mixing setup ever been portable? Has he mixed on the road ever?
Great question.
Yeah, because I know you and I were talking about, I'm trying to convince you to come out to London. But what does it take for someone in your position to mix in a different studio at this point? Big yawn.
At this point, yeah. Sorry. At this point, I'm not sure why anybody would want me to mix outside of my studio, because I've gotten the reps in this space. So
I think it'd be more for you, like you wanting to travel or do something else.
Well, yeah, I'm just coming at it from both ways. Like, traveling sounds fun, but being reliable in what I do and doing it well. Like, my room is part of my instrument. My setup is part of the instrument. I've tuned that instrument for so long. So I've dialed it in. I've practiced on it. I don't know why I'd want to be anywhere else doing it. Obviously, if there's a certain kind of client that only wants to work in a certain studio, it's just rare. It hasn't really happened to me. I'd probably have to get a second set of PMC speakers on a smaller scale than what I have, because I couldn't travel with mine. I probably have to have a second Hilo and VT5 Master Bus EQ, because I like the way that sounds, and I feel like I'd be handicapped without it. Now, that's just my saying that out loud makes me now reflect on that. I'm not quite sure. Like, maybe I could mix in the box if I had to. I haven't in a long time, except for a couple of songs that just like didn't hit the gear right, and it happens every now and then. What does it look like? I don't know. I'll let you know when it happens.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I like the way you said it too, that as a mixer, your studio environment becomes your, it is your instrument, and it's tuned in such a way that you can get the results that you want out of it. I think that's a question that that a lot of people have when they're doing different aspects of the process, and it is important to think about. And it ties into workflow, which we talk about a lot as well, which is getting an environment where you can be maximally creative. It's about the tools to an extent, but it's about how the tools work for you and the flow that you have with them. So if you went to a different studio, you would, even if you had the same speakers and a couple pieces of gear, there's still quite a bit of adjusting you would probably have to do.
Yes. So that doesn't excite me as much, especially right now. Like, with that question being asked, like, in the moment, I feel like I'm in a great flow and things are working out, translating, winning fast on low improg numbers. Like, that's something that I don't want to take for granted. So I don't know. I'm sure I could do it if I had to.
Yeah, and the flip side, obviously the question was asked to you, but for me as someone who is not exclusively a mixer, I mix a lot of my own stuff, but am not doing lots of mix work. I love actually getting out of my normal space. So as a producer, writer, getting different stimuli and different environments and obviously different people as well is a really important part of the process, because with writing and producing, consistency is very important for aspects of the process, and variety is extremely important for aspects of the process as well, and not to the same extent as it is for a mixer. So thinking about what it is that your main role is and what you're trying to do will dictate how much you want to be moving between environments or changing things. Yes,
I would say that you put it perfectly, because I think consistency in your space is part of what makes a mixer, consistent, and that's what we want out of mixers for the most part.
I don't know. Do most of the? I haven't spent enough time in many mixers studios. Are most guys like the Surbans and the Mannies, or Mixed by Ali, or
in the same room?
Yeah, in the same room for a long time. When I saw Tumé in New York, he was moving rooms and trying out speakers and things like that. But I get the sense that mixers generally are trying to be in one place for a consistent
He's been trying
period.
To find his space. I don't know if this new one is the one he landed in. It's great. He's been trying to find. It's been a thing that he's been looking for in New York.
Do you think you will ever make a move to a significantly different setup? I mean, you seem like you're pretty dialed in your spot.
It's so minimal. So no, I'm going to add Atmos, right? So we're going to add an Atmos mix setup at some point, depending on how life goes. I'll have to move out of here as a living circumstance, so I probably have a second room in whatever house that I would move into, maybe with a partner or something. So that would probably be a downsized version, and have a second room. I like my room. I love being here. I live here too, so that's not really in the cards. But will I have to? I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure I will. Yeah. But this will be my studio as long as I'm in Los Angeles, I would love to say.
How do you deal with, as sort of an addendum to that, how do you deal with, you've been doing some engineering things, you've been in some other studios, you've done some mixing on the fly in those other studios. How do you approach that? How do you deal with it? How much time do you spend trying to get used to that room, or like, do you come in a few hours early on a day where you're engineering and mixing? You're like, I need to get used to these crazy fucking socket mounted whatever? Or do you bring your own speakers?
I usually have a pair of 226s if there's a demo set around. PMC will usually loan them to me for that. But I'll listen to records, mostly what I've made very recently. So my brain is adapting quicker to things that I know exactly what it sounds like because I just did that yesterday. So I'll play records, walk around the room, see what it sounds like. I don't do it often, so this is not necessarily something that I do on the regular. I'd imagine all engineers have a playlist of either their records or records that they trust, a reference playlist that they could pull up on Spotify or Tidal or Apple Music and sit and say, okay, this is what the mid-range is doing. This is where the low end is lacking here. This is like for example, working at East West a couple months ago, the upper mid-range on those mains were killing me. And when I brought them back to, listen to my car or back to my studio to redo the rough mixes a little bit before sending them out to the artist team, they were lacking in the upper mid-range because I was compensating for that. And it's just I can just take out all the cuts that I had there just because the speakers are and everyone wants to listen loud. So I had a feeling that was going to happen. So it's the first thing I checked. But that happens a lot in big studios with mains, is that upper mid-range is so brash that it's to give energy to the room and everyone give vibe, but that's not going to translate later. So you have to be careful not to cut it. You got to wear earplugs when you work, in a sense.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And we've talked about this before, but everybody should have a reference playlist on your favorite streaming service. Of course, I know that the audiophiles will say Tidal's the best thing, and my understanding is that is the case, but everybody should also have.
Well, it used to be.
I
mean, Apple's lossless now, so I haven't listened to Apple Music, but I'm sure it sounds exactly the same.
They have a lossless version. Yeah, we should check that out as well. It's
automatic now too. Yeah.
I know folks in the Discord
it's not an upcharge. Like it's just what it is now, which is great.
I know folks in the Discord have been talking about a lot of the streaming service stuff, as well as the Atmos stuff, where we get into a little bit. But a lot of the attempts by the streaming services, the tech companies, DSPs moving into the next technological thing, whether that's the sort of binaural beats and Atmos stuff, whether it's lossless streaming. There's lots of, Tidal isn't exactly lossless, but it's perhaps still much better. Somebody's in the comments there. So,
16, 20, 44.1 CD quality audio. Yeah, not lossless, sorry.
It's not 48K, 32-bit, whatever it is. But everybody should have their playlist of, and my reference playlist has.
Also, on that note, nothing is lossless because your sound card is converting to what it was last set at. The sound card is not shifting over every time. So even if someone delivers a 96K, wave file, your sound card is most likely converting it instantly to 44.1. So everybody's listening the same way. Right.
Oh man, yeah, I gotta have the unfuck guys on here and talk about all that stuff. They'll go super nuts on it. But just last thought, everybody should have reference playlists of stuff that they've listened to forever, that they know how it sounds, and stuff that they've worked on. I also like that you said you bring in things that you worked on recently. The most fresh sounding mixes where you know what they sound like in your environment is the perfect thing to have for translating what's going on.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, it's helpful. I mean, at this point, I just like the amount. It's back to reps and the amount of songs you've worked on. You know what sounds good. You just know. And just trust yourself. Just go for it. Don't overthink it.
Do you have any latest or updated thoughts on Atmos? You're getting that done at some point soon.
At some point, yeah.
Is everybody asking for that now? Is that becoming a standard thing?
It's funny. I've been hearing about it for years, and both shoes finally dropped, and now it's like every day, like, hey, can you deliver Atmos? Can you do this? It's like, yeah, well, I'll have my own studio soon, but until then, I'm working out of so and so studio, and yes, it's happening all the time. It got asked this morning, yesterday, day before,
Interesting. So basically everything is now, how's it going to work? Are you going to deliver 2 sets of mixes? Are you going to charge more for Atmos? Is it all going to be included? Is it going to be a separate fee? Is there going to be different, there's not a different royalty structure or anything. It's just
not an answer yet. There's, stuff that I'm not sure I'm allowed to even talk about within the labels and like how they're budgeting for Atmos. Some labels are doing it different than others. So,
what would you like to see? What would you, if given now all of a sudden it's like, okay, when you're going to mix, please deliver us this mix and also a different type of mix and a different...
Yeah, and then an all-in mix fee for both, which is double rate because it's 2 mixes. I don't think it should be more, a higher fee for Atmos. I think it's still your mix fee. If you don't have your own studio, you have to get a studio fee for the Atmos because it's not that many Atmos rooms. So like if I wasn't booked on a day, I would let a friend mix in my Atmos studio when I had it, and then have the label pay me a studio fee if I wasn't booked that day or didn't want to work on a Saturday and I was going out of town or something like that. There's an Atmos mix fee and a studio fee because not everybody is going to be able to install Atmos that wants to mix Atmos. Yeah. The barrier of entry to Atmos is probably the highest barrier of entry into audio creation since like requiring HD3 to record without latency before native cards were made. Right. It's a very high
many thousands
high price
of dollars.
Point. Many tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah. It's expensive.
So
to do it right and to have Dolby get behind you and say like, yes, you are certified to do this, which actually now matters. Like Pro Tools certification doesn't matter, but Dolby certification matters.
Right. Yeah. And so people were asking on there, Atmos, maybe I'll define it quickly and then you can do it just because I know there's always new people on here. Atmos is a newish surround-like format that involves lots of speakers and like digital imaging, and is a new format that is starting to be utilized by...
It's room emulation. It's not speaker placement. It's wherever in the room you put an object, it is then presented with however many speakers you have. So it's an encoder. It's beyond 7.1 or 5.1. It's where the object, whatever the instrument is, what we refer to as an object just in the software, is where that is, and it can move however, and it is not in a speaker. It is in a position in the room, so you have to think of it differently. So the Conversations crew, we're talking about this now. We're going to set up a Atmos panel. So we're going to try to have a solid few hour conversation with experts in the field with Dolby, and we're going to try to put this together soon. So there's so all the questions could be answered, because I don't know as much as the guy I talked to at Dolby that is helping create this and market this, right? Or PMC, or Maurice at PMC, who is installing all these big rooms at every company, So we want to have them talk about it, and then people like me and Dale Becker asking questions about it to them, and I think that'll be a great resource for this.
Yeah, and ultimately, they're trying to basically have this replace all of surround, and then also somehow
it is. Every 10 years, Dolby innovates on their systems, right?
Did Dolby invent surround? That's a Dolby thing. Okay.
That's a hard question. Did they invent surround? They're the most used encoder for surround sound audio in movie theaters and music forever. There's DTS is another company. Yeah, there's other ones, but Dolby is ubiquitous. Every theater you go to, it's brought to you by Dolby. This is the first time they're taking a foray into music, into the spatial audio is Dolby Atmos, right? It's the same thing that they partnered with them to do this, and they're finally announcing it in that way. But it is the newest encoding and a scalable encoding of surround sound, because it has nothing to do with the amount of speakers you have. It is the placement in the room, and that's the best way that I can even think about this.
Yeah. And there's lots of people asking, so what does that mean? Like, most people don't, other than you can, for a while and probably still, you could spend $500 and get a 5-speaker setup for some cheap thing at Best Buy, and that's surround, but it doesn't sound like a movie theater. There's now.
They're getting better. My Sonos is 2 surrounds, a sound bar, and a sub, and it sounds crazy.
But given how most people are listening off phones and laptops or on headphones, there's now an emulation of Atmos with 2 speakers. I have not heard that. Most people say it just sounds weird and far away. Sometimes it sounds cool,
but has not been nailed yet.
Apple and other people are trying to basically take something that by definition has multiple speakers to create a room and try to do it with 2 speakers. But thus far, the reviews, again, I haven't heard it, but the reviews have not been, I don't know, good.
With noise cancellation on, it's pretty nauseating feeling. It's not right yet. It's not nailed. Someone's asking, is it the future? I think so, in the sense of VR and augmented reality spaces, and in gaming, when you're gonna have sound coming from all over, and as you turn, like I think it's short-sighted to think that this won't be the future in some degree. I don't think it's where it needs to be to enjoy music in headphones just yet. Yeah. And for those of us that haven't heard it in a room, it's crazy in a room. Yeah, it's exactly when it's a great mix. It's how music should feel. Like you present yourself inside the record. It's not about the trickery that can happen. For me, it's about amplifying the space that each sound can sit in, and not like moving it around your head all the time. Like, yeah, maybe a cool vocal ad lib or something. But I was, you can place hi-hats in the front and the back, so you're like, the hi-hat is gigantic. Like, you can do extra placement of things that makes you feel like you're inside the record, and that's what I get out of it. Yeah. I don't know if but it's important minimally like that in spatial audio would sound good. The trickery might be what's causing things to be nauseating, and there are settings in Atmos that called size, and you can like take a sound and you have this size thing, and it makes it like get bigger. It's like, well, what is that doing? It's a phase relationship between speakers or placement in the room. Like that phasing could be what's nauseating. So like I've landed on like very minimal on using of the size, like when I'm doing an Atmos mix, because I feel that phase shift happening. So I don't, people need to learn, like the mixers that are doing this, like this is new. A lot of mixers are doing Atmos, never mixed in 5.1. Like it went from stereo to this, but I do believe as in the future that it's going to be a deliverable. It's being required by labels. So whether you know how to mix Atmos or not, it's going to have to be mixed in Atmos as a new deliverable to labels. So find a friend that does it. I think it's going to be here for a while. I think that there's a lot of room to grow into it. And I'm excited about it personally. I'm not excited about how it sounds right now.
You're also, when you're talking about the creative, how great it sounds in a great room, you're talking about sitting in the middle of a, like a mid 5-figure setup of incredible space. Like there has been no, from what I can tell, any reasonable translation to like put on your headphones and there's some new amazing thing that happens. It mostly sounds worse from what I've heard from people. Yes. So in the sense that this is going to replace surround stereo sound. It's not going to replace stereo anytime soon, because you got 2 ears and you put, we're doing it right here like this. It's like all of a sudden to have a 3-dimensional spatial thing is just, it's very hard to emulate that in 2 speakers. Yeah. And somebody asked if young engineers should invest in Atmos. Like, you just don't have 40 grand to do it. Like, just don't even, understand what it is. And maybe there's just like, if you ever do people who will ultimately do film mixing and do things in 5.1 and 7.1. If you're an engineer in your bedroom and you're doing mixes for your friends and you're trying to build your career, it's important to know about this stuff. And if you want to be good at this, it's probably good to be a nerd about it and read about it and learn about it. But the idea that you're going to spend any, like, I'm a record producer and I mix stuff. I'm not investing in any Atmos stuff. It's just, you have to have a room and a whole lot of money and a workflow in order to have it make sense. But it's going to be a big part of the future and will probably replace surround.
Yeah. It is surround. It is. Like, it's not replacing it.
5.1, 7.1.
Yeah. Dolby Atmos is in every movie theater. This is the new surround. So music is now being, like, it's in cars, right? Like, it's going to be in the new Teslas and the Model X. Like, Dolby Atmos is a new encoder. We have to think of it as software, and it's a hardware encoder. It is the mechanism that gets any sound in a movie and now music to the space that we hear through whatever device will allow us to hear it like that. Right. So if the new Sonos systems are reflecting it off walls like their drivers do, that's how they get Sonos to sound big, it's reflection off walls, then they're doing it Atmos. Like, they're doing it in the sense where the object is being reflected in that position. Whether your room can deliver it or not, I just think the hardware hasn't caught up yet, and it will be. So Now let's talk about why I'm doing Atmos. So to answer the question of the investment, I'm doing it because it's the first time that I felt like I can make music sound and feel like the way that I always thought music should sound and feel, right? I think that it is the music I attempt to make three-dimensional at all times, height, width, depth. And it's near impossible to do that on 2 speakers. When you have 21, it's easy to do. It's easy to fuck up, but there's so much more sonic landscape to work in. So for someone creative like me that loves manipulation of audio, like that's a bigger canvas to work in. So I see it as more fun. The only reason I'm investing in it, and I've said this to Dolby, I've said it to the PMC who's installing the speakers, I'm doing this for fun. I don't care about my ROI on it. I don't care about making more money. I'm going to be fine mixing stereo records if I keep going at the pace I'm going and keep getting better and keep practicing. I'm doing it for fun. It's a lot of fun. Granted, I want to get paid for it. Like I'm not gonna do pro bono Atmos mixes for record labels that have a wallet, but that's not the intention for the move. When I did my first couple, it was like, man, this is the most fun I've had since I got my first Pro Tools rig and I learned how to reverse an audio file or whatever. You know, it was the first time I heard that reverse and I was like, oh my God, I can do this to audio. This is the next step from that, which is, oh, this 3-layered synth now has a place to go, because why the hell are there 3 layers of the same synth in a stereo mix? All we can do is stack them up. Now we can place them from front to back. And that's a different feeling, and you're inside the Juno in that case. So I'm doing it for fun. So don't invest in it for any other reason but having fun. It's not going to double your income. In fact, I'm seeing it as I want to keep the same amount of income and maybe do less projects in a year. So you mix the same album twice instead of having to mix 2 albums, one you like and one you don't like. You just pick the one you like and you mix it twice. I'm not seeing it as a way to make more money as a mix engineer. So the investment, that should answer the investment question a little bit.
Yeah, and it sounds like just like if someone wanted to do a 5.1 mix of an album, that would be a separate fee and oftentimes a separate mixer in a separate studio. You're seeing, at least in the early stages of this becoming a thing, that it's just an extra, a separate mix fee to do an Atmos mix.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, I just kicked my thing.
I'm stoked. I'm excited. I got to call Maurice today after this probably to chat with him, because they got to draw up the plans and the install. I wanted it by July, but I'll say probably by August I'll have it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited when I get back from London to come and listen to some Jon Castelli Atmos mixes, maybe mix something there as well. There's now 2 things which I'll tell you offline that I may have you mix if it all goes through. People were asking. Nice. One of the questions that was asked, Fury Drip asked, will there be a mixing Twitch stream this year? People seem to love the Twitch mix streams, but at some point we've talked about this when John and I work on something together, as long as we can get approval from the artist and the label, whatever, that we will potentially stream something together.
Yeah. I'd love to.
I think that's the move. We'll do a live with MattRad and John mix stream. Let's see. I like this question. David asked, what other art forms inspire your work in music?
Wait, we all know my answer.
Cooking. It's funny.
Chefs are the true rock stars to me.
I think rock stars are the true rock stars, but I like that you love chefs.
Who's a rock star?
It's a good point.
Yeah, I don't. I would say that cooking and the art of sense making in conversation.
Interesting. I'll say for me, I love visual art and fashion, and I'd say actually stand-up comedy and like the art of it and the arc of it and the arc of career. I find a lot of parallels in, because people spend years and years and years not really making money and nobody understanding what they're doing with their life, and then at some point they kind of figure it out and then they become amazing. But I think basically every other art form. I take a lot of inspiration from other art forms because it always gives me perspective on whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see.
It's all about perspective. Really, that's really what it comes down to. If someone like makes a truly inspiring dish, I'm then inspired to go make my mixes sound better. And then if someone also has some sort of like crazy new dress that they released in Fashion Week, and you see that, you're like, that's insane. Like, that's also inspiring. Like, yeah, visual art, all of it can be inspiring. But the way that an umami like flavor, you know, that sensation hits my tongue, like in my brain, that there's nothing like that for me. That's true art, to get that feeling, that savory.
I was just thinking the same thing that Role Model on there just said on the chat. Shout out to the food channel on the Discord. There was a request to make a channel on the Discord that was entirely about people making food. That may be ultimately the thing. If I show that to John, he'll want to get on there and flex. But it's people making food and talking about how they made things. Yeah, there's lots and lots of food on the Discord too. Maybe that's what gets John on there.
Yeah, maybe.
There were a number of questions this week about oversampling. Junior Frigo asked one. Chad asked
one. Don't do it.
Are there from the little bit that I know about it, and maybe you can talk about it as well, listen to it, and if it messes up your transients, don't use it.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yes, listen to it. But a lot of the times, oversampling sounds good, and you don't go check it out again and realize that it still doesn't sound good. Like it when you click it in, like there's this brain thing of change. You're like, oh, it sounds better, it's clearer, and you realize that things are smeared a little bit. But you realize that later, after the fact. You know, the initial input on it normally is a tricked improvement. So that's how I learned the hard way. I just kept leaving it on because I thought it was better, and I had so many instantiations of oversampled plugins. Like, you should do one oversampling, if any, and decide when and where to use it. I think we've talked about this before. I pretty much only use it on background vocals or synths that I don't want to have direct transients, more like washed out pad stuff, because it has this smearing effect.
Francesco with a great call.
I know.
Sorry,
I love that. I know.
Fantastic.
I got distracted. I was like, ooh, that's cool.
Shout out Francesco. Saturation plugin audio umami. I think that's it. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Yeah, I think my
audio. Never mind. I was trying.
We'll brainstorm it. Well, no, I like it.
Audio umami is good.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, oversampling. I think the important thing to know is that it is not a button that makes your shit sound better.
Yes.
And you sort of assume that because it's like, oh, it's processing more. It's processing at a higher sampling rate to then come back, and therefore with the it's anti-aliasing, and therefore it's going to be better. It does not mean that it will make your thing sound better. And different plugins have different ways that they do the oversampling. So I don't know that it necessarily makes things better. The other thing
use it.
You don't really use it other than occasionally on background vocals. So if you think Jon Castelli's mixes sound good,
I don't use oversampling.
You don't necessarily have to use it. It's hard to when and this is something we've talked about a little bit, and Eric Valentine was always great about, and shout out Kian and Bradley on the Discord and some other folks on there, Eric, who are really into doing proper A/B testing on things. It's very hard to click something and see what you're doing and then really know if it's better or not. In order to understand if something really sounds better, you really need to have blind A/Bs. And I guess the closest you can do that is actually close your eyes and click bypass enough times where you don't know which one is which, and then pick which one is better. That's sort of the closest you can get. But with things like converters and things like clocking, and you really need the exact same signal, doing the gain match. You need everything to be exactly the same, and then a blind A/B that you pick. You do the coin flip a number of times. So it's very hard, and we all succumb to it. And you said it initially that when you click in something like oversampling, there's a psychological thing that you're like, this is supposed to be better, and then all of a sudden you can't. It's just very hard to get through that cognitive barrier. So being able to blind test things is really, really important. So don't also assume that something has a feature it's necessarily going to be better for anything or your purposes or whatever.
Yeah, a quick, easy way to do it, and this is the way I do it with any move that I make, is I make the move, and then I put my computer screen to sleep, or to a screensaver, and I listen for a while to what that move is doing. And then I take it out and I listen again. I do a lot of listening. So you can't do that. You're not going to, converter conversation is different, but with this oversampling thing, you're not going to like bounce a whole mix. I mean, you could bounce a whole mix with the oversample on and then bounce one without and then A/B it in a gain match clean session. Sure. But why are you going to do that? Put it on, listen down to the song. Yeah. Maybe listen down twice with it on, then take it off and listen again. Your brain will reacclimate after about 20 to 30 seconds to the change. But it takes about 20 to 30 seconds of listening to that move in for it to change in your brain. It doesn't change instantly. You don't like take 3K out. Like you might have some sort of sense of relief of harshness, but the amount of that reduction is doing, you have to come back and check because you might do too much or not enough because over time your ear adapts to the change. That's why you have to constantly check your moves and don't be making frivolous moves as a mix engineer. As a producer, throw shit against the wall, do whatever you want to do. But as a mixer, be a little bit more refined in your listening to move ratio.
This is one of the places that I find it's the part of record making that I find the most challenging is this aspect, because I switch between producer writer mode and mixer mode. And there's things that you do in producer mode where you're like, I'm just going to go aggressive. I'm going to try shit. I'm going to scoop that whole thing out. I'm going to bypass that thing. I'm going to high pass that thing. I'm going to make bigger moves because that's where you generate the excitement that you need to complete something or make a chorus feel big, or you make bigger moves more quickly. And in mixing, you really, really need to slow it down. Because if you start like you said, and the other thing which you've talked about before, if I'm constantly switching my volume when I'm producing, because something is a low sound, has a low volume, so I crank it way up to hear what I'm doing, turn it back down. But in mixing, that kills because we talk about this all the time, Fletcher Munson curves. Like it really, really kills my ability to understand what's happening in mid-range and high-end if I'm just constantly turning it up and turning back down and that sort of thing. Mixing process is a much slower process of listening.
Yeah.
An important thing for people to understand. This sort of relates to what we're talking about. I was going to try to pivot into this real quick if you had a quick answer. Travis asked, can you have a career as a mix engineer by working only inside the box?
Yes.
I think the answer is of course yes.
Of course yes.
Yeah, and there's people that are doing it and doing it great. Yeah. I think
most people are mixing in the box.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
And I think what will happen to most of those people as they advance in their career is they will find one piece at a time, some piece of analog gear that just isn't quite replicated by a plugin that does a certain kind of harmonic saturation, or has a certain EQ curve that you just can't quite get out of the plugin. And then you've got a rack of gear and some tubes and like you have with your mix bus, you have subtle things. You're like, this just makes the shit sound better, and it works 80% of the time, and I just can't get it out of a plugin. So I think absolutely, everybody's in the box. I mean, that's
great question though. That's a simple but great question. Yes, of course.
Okay, let's see here.
I think people would be better mixing in the box than they are with gear. I think you should learn how to mix in the box before you learn how to mix with gear. I think it's the opposite now. I think learn gain structure in the box, and then you'll hit the gear properly without distorting it, and then choosing your clipping or distortion in the box will be after the gear. After you add that layer of harmonic to your mix, you'll be able to control that better. So I actually think for those of us that have not mixed in the box ever, should learn how to mix in the box.
Yeah, I imagine that everybody's mixing in the box at this point, and then unless you're like an old school guy that learned a certain way on consoles, like I don't even know I don't know anybody that has consoles these days anyway. But it is an interesting thing where you should be like initially people that were using like outboard summing, analog summing and outboard gear and that sort of thing. It was because they didn't like the early versions of digital summing, or there were things about the harmonic distortion that they liked from gear that they couldn't get out of the box. But of course, every day that goes by, there's new plugins, there's new saturation things, there's new digital versions of analog gear, and there's new digital tools that analog gear can never touch. So you simultaneously want to I think as a mixer, it's like get everything you can possibly get out of the computer and be the best possible mixer. And when you reach that limit and there's something else that can be gotten out of analog gear, then pursue that. But also in the process of spending 6 months or 6 years or 2 decades getting the most you can out of the computer, digital technology is going to change. And it may be to the point, if you're starting out as a mixer now, it may be by the point where you've maxed out your abilities in the computer, there won't be any analog gear that can't be replicated in the computer. We may get to that point at some point. I mean, presumably we will.
I would say that not having gear is not an excuse to not make a great mix.
I mean, yeah. I think I've done a couple of really good mixes, and I don't think I've ever used analog gear in the mix process. Part of that, though, is that I recorded with a lot of analog gear, and so I got the saturation in there. But yeah, but
I think the people asking that question, what I'm saying that is directly towards thinking that they need gear to be at a certain level. And the answer is
good clarification.
No.
Yeah.
Not an excuse.
Absolutely. Somebody asked a specific one, and I know it's a recent thing.
Hold on, hardware L2 or nothing. That's hilarious.
Hardware L2.
Hardware L2 is a thing, man. It's a thing.
Yeah, I remember a mastering engineer years ago using that.
Shout out Tizio. Appreciate you.
I love Tizio. Yeah, the masters I got off that hardware L2 did not sound good. But anyway, maybe it's a good piece of gear. I don't know. Somebody asked about the Leon Bridges record. Oh, Nuga, I assume is how you say the name. How'd you get that smooth top end on that Leon Bridges vocal? Do you want to talk at all about that? It's a great sounding song.
It's funny when I listen back to that one. I love that mix, or loved that mix, and then now I'm like, damn, the vocal's a little too bright for me. Like, I think we could have got away with a warmer vocal, but I think just based on how the record was sitting with the other, like, I think I mixed, the album comes out next month. I think I mixed like 6 or 8 of them, and Ricky Reed mixed the rest himself because he produced the album. And I think just compared to where his mixes were at, even though I wound up mixing more than him, the way it started out was I was only going to mix 1. So I had to fit it in that record, so into the album. I think I went a little bit too bright. So it's funny. I'm glad someone said it's smooth. I actually had to reduce a lot. Kind of did a trick that I've talked about either on here or other places where I take off. I EQ a lot of high end off, like maybe 6, 7K, like a lot, 8 dB, and then I make it up with something better, like with
an actual dip or dynamic. Oh
no, like a dip, or even a filter sometimes, with a 6 dB per octave, kind of like smooth thing. And I bring down the high end until I can tolerate it, and then I add back in with something. Sometimes it's the VLC. For me recently, it's been I'll dial in the vocal top end with my VT5 master bus EQ. That's where I set the high end on that boost. I set the amount based on where the vocal sits, because it should be the brightest thing in the mix, in my opinion, at least, in most genres. So I dial it in with that, and then the Spectre if I need anything else for added top. But I take on that vocal, because it sounded like a C800. It was just like crazy top end. I took a lot of top end off, and then I put it back to a desired amount. I think it's too bright still, but that was only after I listened on Tidal, and I was like, damn. I could have went even warmer on a record like that. But I actually really love that mix. I really love that song. Yeah.
Interesting. So on sometimes, because it was a clip that we just put up from the Tizio conversation. The C800 conversation happens a lot because it's such a big part of how contemporary vocals, especially hip hop leaning vocals, are recorded. That the harshness of that, the brightness of that mic, which is a great mic for a lot of things, you'll actually almost like rebuild the high end, where you'll pull down some high end and then remake it with some harmonic saturation and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Let's answer these questions on the thing. Am I on Fuck Love 3 that drops in July? I am on 1 that I know of so far on that Kid Leroy album. If they use the record, I think. I think they want it mixing it in-house, the remaining parts of this project. So I think I'm on 1. And then would I do mix with the masters? Absolutely. Let's get them to ask me to do it. Yeah.
That sounds good. Everybody has lots of thoughts about the C800.
I hate that mic.
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't understand why everyone thinks it's great. I'll like rant about it for like a minute and a half. Like, I think that people love it because it gets you to a desired result fast, but it's too overcooked. So you have to back it off after the fact. I think there are better mics that you can use a little EQ to get a better version of that top end. To me, it sounds like there's a compressed 10K and up that's just like limited and always there. It's noisy.
Not dynamic. It's
not dynamic at all. But there are better ways to get that final desired effect that we like about the C800. I don't know what the best. There's no such thing as the best mic. Like, some people sound better. I like a 251, like an M49. I like a C12. I like a U67. I love like. Let's not pick one over the other. I think any mic over the C800 is what I would say. I just understand the C800. I understand why people like it, but I think that it's lazy. I think the C800 is a lazy mic. I think that put a nice EQ, put a Pultec EQ in the chain and boost 10, 12, 16K with that on a 251 or on a C12. And then I bet you would like it more. I think it's like the people A/B mics, right? You A/B a plugin, you A/B oversampling. You'd A/B the mic. You're like, oh, clearly this one sounds better, but you're not doing anything else but listening to the mic through the same preamp. So it jumps the gun and gets you to a further place without the extra work that might, you know what I mean? Like, that's all.
There's Fuller in there said a U67 with OTT
exactly
is kind of like a C800. Yeah, a C800.
But instead of an OTT, what if you just boosted some top end?
Yeah. So C800, I've heard great recordings. I know there's a couple of vocalists that I like that love the C800 that sounds great with their voice. It can be paired really nicely. I find a 251 or a 47, which I have here, to be more dynamic and more control over the high end. You can get the same brightness that you can get out of a C800 from any of these other. And we're talking about like basically $10K plus, $10,000 plus tube mics. So we're talking about
all of these.
We're talking about a realm of tube mics that's beyond a lot of people's price point. But when you're looking at sort of the best of the best, I find a 251 to be my favorite. Talked about it with Tizio. That's what he uses for Chris Brown, because the C800 is just a little too bright and not as versatile. You're committing to a certain kind of brightness that, like you said, with something like the Leon Bridges, you can't
undo it.
Yeah, you need someone. If you have Jon Castelli to undo it, you can get away with it. To undo and rebuild it, but to be honest,
it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah, a C800
the EQ move. Like, it's not like, don't just go home and take off that much high end and then like rebuild it. It's not that. It's like,
you shouldn't have to do that.
Shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. I think I would say, from my experience of especially pop vocals, but pop meaning high-end popular music, I'd say the 251 is probably the most used outside of the C800, which has become kind of the new hip-hop thing. The 251 is like the classic best high-end tube mic, but any of those in that realm, they all have slightly different things. But
furry drip, you're on the right path. I love that comment. You're on the right path. Get off. You don't need to take those. You don't need to take that seriously. None of them. I take Sound Toys more seriously than I take Tube Tech and Neve. God.
I do like Sound Toys.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Okay, let's see. How much time do we have left? A little less than 10 minutes. Let's see. I like this question from Zach. I mean, maybe this applies a bit more to me, but you've had a lot of this experience too. Can you talk about communication with artists, how you encourage and get A+ takes from them, just communication generally? And I kind of I had a thought about this, which is, a lot of people ask questions like this, like, how do you get an artist to be comfortable? How do you get in a place where you can get the best out of an artist? And the answer to it, which I'll elaborate on, is sort of an annoying answer, but it's, I think more than anything else, it's experience. But what that means is not necessarily just doing it a lot, but the reason experience is so important is because it gives you an amount of confidence and empathy that make people that you're working with trust you. And I think it's the same thing if you're a mastering engineer or if you're a lyricist, like whatever end of the process you're on. If you've done it a lot and you've worked with a wide spectrum of people and experiences and projects, it gives you a level of calm that you can't really get in any other way. So when you're talking to someone, you can say the same thing that an inexperienced person would say, but because you know what you're talking about and you've been through it, it makes the people around you relaxed and trust you. And ultimately, communication and trust is how you get great takes out of someone. I was working with an artist yesterday who's 19. She's a great young artist. And, you know, we spent the first 3 hours, we were supposed to write a song. Maybe we spent the first 4 hours just hanging out because we never met each other before. And in order to get to a place where we're going to write something great and she's going to sing amazing vocals, and she needs to be comfortable here. So we literally just hung out for 3 or 4 hours and we talked about our favorite sushi restaurants and listened to some music and talked about lots of non-music things and got to know each other a bit, so that when it's time to do the things where I need her to take a risk as a vocalist to get the best takes, she's comfortable around me and she knows that this is the environment where you can take risks and you can make mistakes and your voice can crack and the note can be too high or the note can be too soft or whatever it is. And she trusts, not because she's looked at my discography or I said the perfect thing, but simply because we've spent the time and she's like, yeah, this is a place I can take risks. This is literally, the studio is the place to make mistakes because it doesn't, you know, we don't have to send anything out if it's not good. So it's about trust and communication. I don't know if you can speak on that a little bit.
No, I don't do that part as often anymore. So I feel like you said it perfectly. In my world, it's kind of the same thing. I try everything someone wants to be tried. I make them feel heard, that their ideas aren't stupid. Instead of saying like, oh, why would we do that?
That's a big one.
Just do it. Like, even if I know it's not going to, how do I even know it's not going to be cool? Because maybe the idea that they come up with makes us land on a better idea that, like, it inspires me to try something new. I mean, like, all ideas should be heard to a degree. Obviously, we have to filter out, you know, there's time at play and there's deadlines and release schedules and stuff like that. But got to make people feel comfortable, and it's their art. So that's at the end of the day, we're just trying to get the best performance, whether that's from the vocalist or from the mix. And I think the best people that do what we do make people feel calm in the room, or just the right amount of anxious to get that kind of anxiety in the take, right? Like it's almost the opposite. Sometimes you want to agitate someone to get like,
quickly, let's do another one. Quickly, do another take. There's all kinds of strategies for it.
Yeah. Totally. That's really important. I mean, without that sensitivity, we're not going to get hired. I don't know.
It's a big thing you said too. Even the way you said it, describing it here, which is as a producer, even as a co-writer, if you're the artist, it's different. But unless you are the artist, you are there to serve the artist. And even if that means you're with an artist that isn't, you and another songwriter are with an artist who isn't really a songwriter, but they're sort of learning, and so you're going to do 95% of it. Ultimately, they're going to go the idea is they're going to go sing the song for another 2 decades. I say that all the time in sessions.
No, all the time.
They're like, which lyric should it be this? Which is better? I'm like, when we do this right, you're going to go sing it for 2 decades, and I'm going to make 1,000 other records. So you need to be excited about it. Like empowering the people around you, and that kind of collaboration is everything with it. And communicating that is maybe the most important thing.
Yeah, agreed. I think you're really good at communicating that.
You're doing it right. You're doing it right now. I spend a lot of time, and I really enjoy it too. I mean, that's the other thing too. And again, these sort of like annoying. They're sort of annoying answers because it's not like you need to say this and set it up like this. You got to love the process of trying to help someone else make the best record of their life. If you're going to be a mixer or a producer or a mastering engineer, you actually have to have joy. And not everybody has it, but the vast majority of successful people get joy out of helping someone else achieve their vision. That's ultimately what you're doing. That's what I'm doing 100% of the time. I mean, I have time for my own vision and learning songs and playing sounds, and there's a lot of it that's very personal for me. But ultimately, we're in dialogue with our collaborators, and then dialogue with the public, with the audience. And so it's important to get the joy out of the process, of that part of the process, where you are there to serve the art and the other people around you.
Always in constant dialogue with the audience. Without the audience, we don't have a job. Yeah.
Music is a cultural art form. It's a cultural dialogue. All right. I think that's probably good. We're like 2 minutes shy.
Sorry for my lower energy today than usual, but
no, you're good, man.
Hope we did some things.
I hope you got good tennis in. I think a little heat in tennis. You'll sleep well tonight.
Yeah, I need that.
All right, so just real quick again. Next week I'm going to be flying to London, so we're not going to do the regular time, I don't think. I may try to jump on the Discord, so people please go check that out. I might try to get on the Discord and just do like a voice chat thing with the people on there. Maybe do a little Q&A or something. And then we'll figure out what we're doing once I'm in London. I might do some lives out there with some other people, but try to get on Tuesdays, where it'll be 8 or 9 at night in London, and noon for Jon, because of course I love this regular stuff. Thank you guys as always for coming on here and saying what's up on the chat. Go check out the Discord, and I'm going to hit a bunch of people back in DMs. Jon, love you. Good to see you as always.
Love you. You too.
Bye guys.